long time, been a long time coming. Whoa, whoa.
Hello and welcome to the second double chapter edition of the Fairy Tale Reread. We're doing chapter 10 and chapter 11 today, and the reason that I put these two chapters together is that we talk quite a lot about Mr Kowalski, who is the original owner of Rosie's florist shop. She worked with him for a year before she then bought the shop, so he kind of mentored her. And even though her mum was a florist and she'd grown up around floristry, so she knew what she was doing, that year that she spent with him was actually really formative, and you find out why in the book. I'm not going to give anything away, you'll find out when you read. Mr Kowalski is a lovely person, and he's the only character that isn't in any of the present day action of the book. He is very much the voice in Rosie's head. He was an amazing person. He's not alive when the book starts, but he's alive in Rosie's head, and that was something that I wanted to look at and kind of became quite a major theme in the book as I was writing about it. I suppose he's a bit like, somebody called him a Yoda character, and he is a little bit like Yoda. A Polish Yoda maybe, who arranges flowers. Why not? So I'm going to read you a little bit of what Rosie says about Mr Kowalski. There's a lot throughout these two chapters, but I'm going to read you a little snippet, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of the kind of relationship they had and the inspiration that he's been to her in her life. Flowers are the best therapy, Mum says. You can never be angry for too long when you're with them, and I guess she's right. There's something about being surrounded with their scent and colour that soothes you. It's just impossible not to be moved by the simple beauty of natural things. When I'm stressed or overworked, I make myself remember Mr Kowalski in the middle of all the rush, and somehow I always find myself slowing down. Every now and again in life, you meet someone who can truly be described as inspirational. I don't mean rich or famous or even out of the ordinary. I mean someone who makes you feel a better person just by standing alongside you. Mr K was inspirational. He seemed to be constantly surrounded by peace. He knew who he was supposed to be. I don't know many people like that. I know an awful lot of people who are searching for that though, and I'm one of them. Mr K had the ability to find tranquility in the middle of the busiest times. One time we had a huge order to complete for a bridal show, and I became so stressed that everything I attempted failed. Mr K didn't shout, didn't judge. He just walked up alongside me and put his arm around my shoulders. "Rosie, take some time. Find some peace. Listen to Papa." I didn't understand. I asked him how I could listen. A broad smile lit up his wrinkled features. "Okachana, listen to the flowers. They don't say hurry. They don't fret or complain. Their colour says peace." I didn't really understand. I still don't. But I did start to take time out in the middle of my work to enjoy what I was doing for its own sake, and it works. Sometimes I missed Mr Kowalski so much it makes my soul ache. There you go. I even know, it's funny because coming back and reading those words that I wrote years ago, I still feel the same excitement that I did when they turned up on the page. Well, I remember somebody's asked me where my bookmark comes from. My bookmark is from Bookishly. Can you see that? Bookishly are great. They have loads of kind of book themed gifts and artwork, and they do a set of these bookmarks, and they're beautiful, and it kind of matches. It looks really nice. So there you go. Now, I also said today that I was going to talk about Old F. Old F is Old Faithful, Rosie's very, very cranky coffee machine. I love the idea of inanimate objects having personalities, and I think the older and crankier something is, the more personality it has. I always kind of attribute things to inanimate objects. Maybe that's just the writer in me, I don't know, or maybe I'm just weird. Old Faithful is actually inspired by the very first computer that I had. A friend of mine, her husband liked tinkering with stuff, and this was an old obsolete computer that she'd had at work, that he'd been tinkering with it in his shed. And the one thing that I really, really wanted was a computer, and the reason being that when I was in my teens, my mum had given me a typewriter, the kind of one that you used to fold away into a little suitcase. And I used to think I was Jessica Fletcher, and I'd just sit there typing. And I found that when I typed, the words came out faster because I wasn't being as critical about what I was writing, whereas when I was handwriting, I was being critical about my handwriting, and I had too much time to think, and I would cross things out, and then I'd lose my place. Something about sitting down at a typewriter keyboard meant that it kind of unlocked this in my head, and so I thought, well, if I have a computer it will do the same thing. And so my friend gave me this computer, and it was so old and it took forever to boot up, and it constantly lost stuff because it was before I realised about backing up. It used to have to back up stuff on a floppy disk, so it shows you how old it was. And so I was used to the fact that very often I'd be typing something and my computer would just decide to turn itself off and lose everything that I'd just been doing. I mean, I save like every paragraph now, even now, because I'm so paranoid about losing stuff. But actually there's something really lovely about the relationship with it. It was a real love-hate relationship with my computer, but it unlocked this story inside me. I kind of wanted to sort of show that in the book of where I was at when I wrote it. And so instead of Rosie having a cranky old computer, she had a cranky old coffee machine. And I like the idea that it's kind of like an in-joke that old Effie's one of the team. Other people come in and say, why have you still got that really old coffee maker? But he makes the best coffee. And it's also going to be a link because Nate is going to come and visit Rosie. I'm not going to tell you when, but he's going to come in. And so the original title, Coffee at Kowalski's, was meant to be Rosie and Nate sharing coffee and talking about this kind of optimism versus pessimism, and talking about life and becoming friends, and maybe something more. Old F is fundamental because he provides the coffee for the chats that may or may not be happening. So there you go. Right, so tomorrow we're back to single chapters. We are back to chapter 12, and I am going to talk about the floristry side of things, where the inspiration came from, and answer the question that a lot of people asked about what my experience of floristry is. I will tell you all about that in the next episode. Why not ask me a question? I'd love to know what you'd like to know about the book. You can leave a comment under this video. I'm Wordsmith on Twitter. I'm also Wordsmith on Instagram, Miranda Dickinson author at Facebook, or you can email me mirandawordy@gmail.com. Happy reading, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Been a long time coming. Whoa, whoa, whoa.